All right, so now we'll put together everything that we have done in the rest of these videos into one 20-minute practice that, again, you can use once a week, a couple times a week. Definitely don't do it every day, but just to help both strengthen and release the muscles of the pelvic floor. So you'll want, if you have something a little bit sturdy like a block or even like a ball, not a basketball, but like a soccer ball maybe, that might be helpful to have. If you can grab a couple of blankets, they don't have to be fancy, just blankets off of your bed or couch or whatever. And then a couple pillows, they can just be pillows from your bed. Go ahead and grab those things and then come on back and we will meet in a lying down position with the feet flat on the mat. Go ahead and take the feet about as wide as the mat and let the knees fall in toward each other so that your knees are resting against one another. And as you find yourself here, allow the eyes to close if that feels available to you. Take stock of whatever thoughts you might have. Just notice them and then allow them to set to the side. Taking a scan through the body, noticing the areas of tension and tightness, and then allowing all of those observations to go. And then turning your attention to the point in your body where you can feel your breath. Go ahead and just for a moment, notice the breath coming and going. And then taking the attention and shifting it downward to the very front of your pelvis, to your pubic bone. Noticing that point. Drawing a little line, a diagonal line, over to the right toward your right sits bone. Back into the left to your tailbone. And then drawing a line from your tailbone to your left sits bone. And then completing the diamond from your left sits bone back up to your pubic bone. This is the outline of your pelvic floor. Can you begin to imagine a hammock, a net of whatever it looks like to you, spanning the 4 points of your pelvic bowl? And then very gently, with each inhale, can you imagine that hammock expanding outward? And with each exhale, can you notice how it just gently pulls in? Inhaling to allow it to expand outward. Exhaling to gently pull it up and in. Inhaling to expand outward. Exhaling to pull it up and in, drawing those 4 points of the pelvic floor together with each exhale, allowing them to separate out with each inhale. Continuing in this pattern in time with your own breath. For the next few inhales and exhales, you can allow the breath to return to normal. Maybe you separate the knees, allow the feet to come back under the hips. go ahead and grab your block or your pillow, your small pillow, have it nearby. Keeping the feet about as wide as the width of the mat. We'll inhale here, and then as you exhale, can you allow both knees to fall to the right? Inhaling through center, exhaling to allow both knees to fall to the left. Inhaling through center, exhaling to allow both knees to fall to the right. Inhaling through center, exhaling to allow both knees to fall to the left. Continuing this in time with your own breath for a few more rounds. Once you've evened out both sides, go ahead and bring the knees back to neutral. Bring the feet underneath the knees, so just a few inches away from the hips. Take your block or your pillow or your ball or whatever it is that you can place between your knees. Extend the hands long. Again, finding those 4 points of your pelvic floor. We'll move into a bridge, and then at the top, we'll pause, do a Kegel, pull those points of the pelvic floor together, release the tension, and then as we exhale, we'll lower the hips, pause, do a Kegel, release the tension, and then continue in this pattern. So on the inhale, pressing down into the heels, we'll lift the hips up toward the ceiling, pause at the end of the inhale, pull the 4 points of the pelvic floor together, release the tension, exhale to lower the hips so they hover just an inch above the mat. With the pause, we pull the pelvic floor in, release. Inhale to lift, pause and pull the pelvic floor in and release. Exhale, let the hips hover, pull, engage and release the pelvic floor. Inhale to lift the hips. At the top, we'll engage and release the pelvic floor. Exhale to lower, let the hips hover, engage and release the pelvic floor. Inhale to lift the hips at the top. We'll engage and release the pelvic floor. Exhale to lower, let the hips hover, engage and release the pelvic floor. Continuing in this pattern with your own breath. I'm on number 5. We'll try to get to 10, but if you were done before 10, that is perfectly fine. You can set the block to the side, draw your knees into your chest, and just relax. I think we have about 3 more. Inhaling to lift. Engage at the top. Exhale to lower. Engage and release the pelvic floor at the bottom. 2 more. Last one. Inhale at the pause at the top. We'll engage that pelvic floor, release the tension. As you exhale, go ahead and just lower it all down. Remove the block or whatever it was that you had between your knees. Pull the knees into the chest and just rock side to side. Along the low back. Coming back into stillness, we'll move into a happy baby. So go ahead and separate the knees, pull the knees in toward the chest a little bit. Extend the feet upward with the knees still bent. So the knees are at about a 90-degree angle. It's like your feet are stepping up on the ceiling. And then you can play with the position of your hands, just play with the position of your legs. You can reach up and grab the outside of your feet and just rock side to side here. With each inhale, imagine releasing that tension in the pelvic floor. We'll stay here for 5 breaths. So inhaling to expand the pelvic floor. As you exhale, you release the tension in the low back, the hips, the pelvis. 2 more breaths. And we'll release the feet back to the mat. Go ahead and take that ball or that block, or whatever it was you have between your knees, place it back between the knees. Find that neutral spot of your pelvis. So on an inhale, tilt the pelvis forward, move the hip points toward the thighs. On an exhale, tilt it back, close that gap behind your low back. Find a neutral pelvis. Inhale deep, and as you exhale, blow out like you're blowing through a straw. Draw the low back back to the mat. Lift the feet off the mat to a 90-degree angle. So this again might be just enough pelvic floor engagement or enough lower core engagement for you, just like this. If you'd like a little bit more with each inhale, you can press the hands into the thighs and the thighs into the hands. With each exhale, you release. Inhale to press the hands into the thighs into the hands. Exhale to release. We'll do 3 more breaths. Inhale to engage. Exhale to release. Inhale to engage. Exhale to release. Last breath. Inhale to engage. Exhale to release. Go ahead and set that block off to the side. Draw the knees into the chest. Rock side to side along that low back. Enjoy the little massage across your SI joint. The next time your knees come to the right, go ahead and let them fall all the way to the right and open the left shoulder back toward the mat for a twist. So in this twisted position, breathe deep into the left lung, so filling that left side of the body up with air. And with each exhale, you release that shoulder back to the mat. On an inhale, we'll come back up through center, and exhale, go ahead and send the knees to the left. Open that right shoulder back toward the mat. Inhaling to fill the right lung with air. Exhaling to release the shoulder toward the mat. Inhale to come back to center. Go ahead and place your feet back on the mat again. We'll cross the right ankle over the left knee and begin to just draw that left leg in towards your chest. So this is a reclined figure 4 position. It might be that your left foot stays on the mat, and that is perfectly okay. But finding a little bit of a stretch in the back of the right hip. You can rock side to side. And then bringing both feet to the mat, we'll take our left ankle to the right knee. Again, drawing the right leg in toward the chest, maybe even using that left elbow to press the left knee out to the side just a little bit. And bring both feet back to the mat. We'll roll over to one side, press up into a seat, and come on over into a table. So once you're in your tabletop position, if you remember, we want our wrists to be under our elbows to be under our shoulders, our knees to be under our hips. Press down into those hands so you engage the upper back. You're looking straight down at the mat beneath you. As you inhale, go ahead and release all that tension in the low belly, in the pelvic floor. And as you exhale, blow as though you're blowing through a straw. Draw the belly to the spine. Draw the pelvic floor up and in. Inhale to release the tension. Exhale to draw that pelvic floor up and in, the belly to the spine. Inhale to expand. Exhale to draw that pelvic floor inward, belly to the spine. Inhale to expand. Exhale to pick up that marble with your pelvic floor. Inhale to drop the marble, let it all expand. Last one. This time we'll draw it in and hold for 3, 2, 1. Wonderful. Go ahead and bring your toes together, spread your knees wide, and press back into a child's pose. So hips are pressed back to the heels, the toes are touching, and in this position you're releasing that tension that's built up in the pelvic floor. And inhale, we'll press into the hands and come back into a table. I didn't say this before, but if child's pose doesn't work for your knees, you can always roll up a blanket and put them behind the knees to give yourself some more support. You're still going to get the same opening in the pelvic floor, even if you do it that way. So coming back into a tabletop position with the wrists under the elbows under the shoulders. The head is an extension of the spine. Take a deep breath in. Exhale like you're blowing through a straw. Draw the belly to the spine. And then we'll take the right leg out behind us with the toes on the mat. Find some stretch in the right leg. If it feels available to you, you can begin to float those right toes off the mat, bringing the right leg no higher than your hip, but it can be in line with your hip. And if you can draw your belly in toward the spine, get strong through your core and stay stable, you can extend your left arm forward. Stay wherever you are, either toes on the mat, leg extended, leg and arm extended for 2 more breaths. 1 more inhale. Exhale, bring the hand to the mat, the leg to the knee to the mat. Wiggle the hips. Taking this to the other side, we'll take the left foot back behind us this time. For just a minute, just press back into those left toes. Find some stretch in the left leg. And then you can stay here, or drawing the belly to the spine, we can lift those left toes off the mat, no higher than the hip. If you feel good and stable here, you can extend that right arm forward. Drawing the belly to the spine, hugging everything into the midline for 3 more breaths. One more inhale. Exhale, bring your right hand to the mat, your left knee to the mat. Point those toes together, get whatever props you need to support your knees, and shift the hips back into a child's pose. In this child's pose, I'm going to invite you to take your hands and wrap them around so that they touch your feet. And as we lay here for about the next minute, with each inhale, I invite you to imagine the space along your low back expanding. Your pelvic floor expanding outward. And with each exhale, you release any tension that you have found there. Inhaling to expand. Exhaling to release the tension. Bring the hands back under the shoulders. On an inhale, we'll press into the hands to come up to a seat. And we'll set up for our final resting pose, which in yoga practices is called Shavasana, which means corpse pose. It's just a place to let go of all of the work that you've done in the last practice. So for Shavasana, I'm going to offer to you the reclined bound angle pose that we worked on in one of the videos. So you'll want to take a blanket or two and roll them up. You might also find that pillows work just as well for that. So roll them up so that they can be the supports under your hips. So you'll kind of tuck the blankets up right next to your hips. Bring the soles of the feet together. Take a couple pillows behind you, maybe a few inches from your hips. And begin to use your hands to lay back on the pillows. So allowing the knees to fall open to the side. The soles of the feet are together. The arms are laying out to either side. With each inhale, feel your body expand. And with each exhale, you release the tension. Let gravity pull you further down into the mat, into the floor. In Shavasana, there's nothing to do, nothing to feel, nothing to say, nothing to think. It's your opportunity to just be. So I invite you to notice the places of your body where you might be holding tension. And as you rest here, with each inhale, can you send the breath to those places? And with each exhale, can you release that tension? You can stay in this pose for as long as you would like. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. When you're ready to come out of it, you'll want to take your hands to either side of the knees. Bring the knees back together. So the outside of the thighs, bring the knees back together. Roll onto one side to come off of your pillows. And then slowly, over a few breaths, use your hands to press up into a seated position. I thank you guys for taking the opportunity to pour into yourself, to take care of this vital part of your anatomy, part of your body. And I hope that you found this practice helpful to you.